Welcome back. There was international outcry this week over the arrest of two British journalists from the Vice News organization. They were working on a story on terrorism inside Turkey when the government accused them of helping a Kurdish terror group. They have since been released. Our Scott Thuman went to Istanbul to examine the new partnership between the U.S. and Turkey, a story you will only see here.
On this day, during the call to prayer in Istanbul, Turkey, there are increased wishes for safety. Filling the mosques and streets are many who hope America has come to the rescue.
Turkey can finish the ISIS and the PKK and the Daesh, but we need to support the Americans.
For the first time in the fight against the terror groups in Syria and Iraq, that is happening. The U.S. is now flying bombing missions from Turkish bases closer to those battlefields, making airstrikes considerably easier, though in turn, a dramatic surge in retaliatory bombings and shootings by ISIL sympathizers. Here we saw understandably paranoid police officers guarding their station with automatic weapons. They've become a popular target. And these attacks aren't just remote border issues. Here in Istanbul, they're both on the rise and deadly. But many Turks tell me it's just a price they have to pay for partnering with the United States. Favzi Yabato sells rugs in the city's famous Grand Bazaar and believes this relationship is already weakening terrorists.
A union is a good thing.
Yeah, of course union. That's why each time, doesn't matter which country it is, to fight against struggle with this kind of group is fine.
But at what cost to the United States? During our visit, the U.S. consulate was bombed, and while no Americans were killed, days later, terrorists opened fire on a popular spot for Western tourists.
It doesn't make me worry. It's make me worry if you have to fight them alone.
Them means more than just ISIL. Kurdish separatists who've long fought for independence believe Turkey's using this air campaign as cover to strike out against the longtime enemy. Many of them now blame America. But even in a culture arguably hardened by decades of this type of violence, fear now suddenly dominates the news cycle.
Do you worry more about terrorism now?
Yeah, I'm worried about terrorism.
But you think if the U.S. and Turkey work together...
They work together and they can finish the terrorism in Turkey, maybe. We need the U.S. We need the U.S. to finish it.
In Istanbul, Turkey, Scott Thuman, News Channel 8.
And Scott Thuman joins us now. Scott, fantastic that you were able to do this trip and do this kind of reporting. The timing is couldn't be better.
Right.
How much help can Turkey be militarily?
Well, geographically, they're, invaluable to us. They're so close to the Syrian border. So now when F-16 fighter jets, U.S. fighter jets, are taking off for these missions, it's about a 30-minute run for them to get to some of the hot spots in Turkey, in Iraq and Syria. So that's beneficial on many, many levels. As far as having them as an ally and them actually joining the coalition, they were reluctant for a long time. Getting them on board is significant because now we're in partnership. They're running some of these air campaigns themselves, but as you heard, the controversy is, are they really just attacking ISIL, as is the goal of this operation, or are they using it as cover to go against the Kurds, against the PKK? And that's a long-standing argument. It's not going to be solved by you or me today, but it's one that's very, very much in the focus of international relations.
Endless complication, and not for the first time in the region. The second part of your series is online at WJLA.com. We encourage people to check it out later. What do you explore?
Yeah, we go closer to the Syrian border. We go to a place called Gurem. It's actually kind of a popular tourist destination, and they're seeing some changes as a result of the fears that have grown. We also talk about the pipeline for getting weapons in and out through Turkey to ISIL sympathizers and members of ISIL. And then finally, we talk a little bit about there's a wall going up. They're actually building a wall, and that wall is to keep some of the terror suspects or terrorists out. It's a hot topic, and there's going to be a lot more to come on that one.
Good for you for going to the front, as it were, and because it's a fascinating development in the fight against ISIL, the role of Turkey right now. Let's talk stateside politics.
Sure.
And the pledge signed by Donald Trump saying that he will support the GOP nominee in the event that nominee is someone else. Everyone remembers the first question in the first big debate.
He raised his hand.
Donald Trump was the only one not to make such a commitment. What happened to sort of change his mind, and what does it mean?
Yeah, great question, and I don't know that we'll ever get the true answer on that. But then again, to give him some fair balance here. Donald Trump did say, look, things have changed because he's considerably higher in the polls than just about anyone these days. It's been consistent for more than a month now. And he feels that he's gotten on board, seen a little eye to eye now with the RNC, that he's getting the quote-unquote fair treatment he's been seeking. As a result, he says he'll throw his support behind the GOP nominee. It's also kind of, though, saying, look, I won't run as an independent. We don't know what happened in that closed-door meeting between he and Reince Priebus, the RNC chairman, but clearly it was enough that both walked out shaking hands and his signature on that paper.
If you're a Republican, you've got to hope that there isn't someone like a Trump running out there as a third party or independent candidate, because we know from experience over the last 20, 30 years and probably beyond what happens when that happens. That having been said, I think there's probably some suspicion that come next year, you know, a lot's going to happen between now and then. Could Trump still, you know, could he rip up the pledge? Well, I think sure.
Absolutely. I think this is a guy who prides himself on being no holds barred. So if he sees this scenario or the landscape changing a little bit, he's going to adapt to it. Look, he is riding in really just a remarkable wave right now. Newest Monmouth University polls yesterday showed him at 30%. He's at 30%. No one would have fathomed that 6-8 months ago. Now, with what you
a lot of people thought he had a ceiling in the 20 to 25 range. This blows that out of the water.
We have 14 months left, so a lot is obviously going to change. But the other note to take into consideration there, second in that polling is Ben Carson. You have two guys essentially accounting for 50% of likely Republican voters right now, their support, neither of which has ever held a political office.
Two quick debate questions for you. CNN changing the rules for their debates so that Carly Fiorina, the top achiever by most account in the undercard last time on the main stage this time. And I'm going to be watching to see Jeb Bush, because Donald Trump has hit him so effectively and so repetitively on this idea of low energy. Well, energy, that can be hard to do. I mean, it's not shouting, and you certainly don't want to commit a gaffe. None of that is energy. But I think there's going to be an expectation or a sort of people are going to be looking at Jeb to see, with Bush to see does he
does he step it up? Yeah.
Does he step it up?
Look, you and I have talked about this on this show many times, that optics matter so much in politics, especially presidential politics. And he does seem low energy, and I think everyone can agree on that. Every once in a while, we see these glimmers of the Bush that he can be when he gets punched verbally in the mouth by someone like Trump, and suddenly he has this great response. He needs that consistently, because right now he does look like he is a wallflower compared to these other candidates, and he may say, look, I'm being judicious in my words, I'm being measured, I'm not going to have a rash reaction to something just because you want that. I'm going to do what's right. But it doesn't always sit well with the American public when they're so furious and they want something different than the president and this administration.
And to sustain it through an entire debate, and to say nothing of an entire primary season, which is going to be the ultimate marathon.
Yeah, I predict you'll see a different Jeb Bush in this election, in this campaign, this next debate.
You do?
Yeah, I don't know that it's enough to enthuse those who are unenthused right now, but he'll have to step up his game. He's aware of it.
And for him to be in single digits right now, given the expectations for him going in. It's
just kind of embarrassing. I don't know how his camp has got to be kind of circling the wagons right now, saying, what do we do to get our candidate out there? Or are they just saying, we're going to stand the test of time. Maybe they think Trump is a flash in the pan and they'll rebound.
Our senior political reporter, Scott Thuman. Always great having you here. Thanks very much for your time, as always. Tom Threlkeld is on deck. We'll talk about the Nats, Deflategate, and the final preseason game. Keep it here.